Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the open house of SEDA, that stands for School of Environmental Design and Architecture at NUV-SEDA University of Baroda. And my name is Pratyush Shankar, and today I'm going to be your host for this open house. Open house as an idea is an opportunity to know more about what we do, to understand our programs better, our teaching ideas better, and generally to get a sense of the university before you take your final decision. Yeah, and I see a lot of my faculty members are here, but prospective students are also here. And if I can request you to switch on your camera for a while, because it will be nice to see your faces. Maybe I can see whom am I talking to. That's Rajvi, Sara Patel, Mansi, Suhani, Jia, Tanvi, even Chirag Chaudhary. You can also switch on your camera. We have two dots, whoever that two dots is, this fine young man who is posing in his DP. If you can also switch on your camera, Krusha Patel, Sharon, Haley, Fakhruddin, you can also switch on your camera, it's all right. Great, so Vaishnavi, Vaidya, Jia, Sara Patel. Hi Sara, how are you? Tanvi. Good. Yeah, so it will be nice. Hello Fakhruddin, great to see you also. Good, so we have these young prospective students, and well, I'm assuming you have all by default all cleared your 12th. So this is what we were always hoping for when we were studying, because academics were always a struggle sometimes, and 12th pressure was always there. So now you have all cleared 12th by the hidden hand of a formula. So congratulations for clearing your 12th without giving an exam. So that's number one agenda off the table. So let me first take this opportunity to introduce my team here. We have our provost here, Professor Yajnik. He is the provost of the NUV-SEDA University. Under him are all the schools of NUV-SEDA University. He will say a few words in a while. We have our registrar, Dr. Sandeep Vasant. Sandeep, if you could just raise your hand.
Hello.
Yeah, that's Dr. Sandeep Vasant. So registrar's job is to look at a lot of things, including administration and functioning of the university. And then we have the team of SEDA. And I will very quickly introduce you to the team of SEDA. We have Shalini here, who is the program chair for interiors, Bachelor of Design Interiors. She has been working here for many years now. We have Pragya here, who is the chair for Bachelor of Design Landscape. They both teach in architecture also. So that's the good thing about our faculty members. We teach in all the programs. We have Professor Shantanu Jana here. He comes from huge industry experience, practically almost 30 years of industry experience, and is interested in construction, building physics. We have Professor Advaita here.
Hello.
Yeah, so Advaita also has been with us for a few years, and she studied a master's. She did her master's in the US, spent some time in the UK, and has good exposure. She's interested in questions of cities, the urban question. We have Neha here. Neha,
hello.
Just raise your hand. Yeah, that's Neha. Sarvate, you would meet Neha if you were to join SEDA for courses that deal with environment, that deals with architecture. She's a very passionate environmentalist. She comes in the news for the activism that she does. We have Manali here, very much interested in construction and heritage. Again, very passionate about the work she does. She's been doing a lot of experimentation in construction. Then we have Sanjana here. Sanjana, if you could just raise your hand. Yeah, that's Sanjana. She's again interested in doing some wonderful work in teaching interior history. And she's right now presently working on that, but also trained as an architect. All of us, most of us have masters. Then we have Krunali here. Krunali is the host today. She's the one who has been communicating with you. And Prunali really looks at the foundation years, the first year. She really looks after the first year kids and really make sure they develop good base skills. We have Pulak here. Now, Pulak is a painter. He comes from fine arts background. Yeah, Pulak, if you could just say hello to everyone. I can't. Anyways.
Okay, yeah. Hello, everyone.
Yeah, yeah, that's Pulak. Then we have Anjal Patel, who is a graduate from SEDA and who has recently joined as an assistant professor. Anjal, just raise your hand and say hi to everyone.
Hi, hi everyone.
Yeah, and then we have our teaching assistants in Chirag Chaudhary here. He teaches or helps us in courses related to computation. We have Darshil.
Hi.
We have Fakhruddin.
Hello.
And we also have another professor, assistant professor, Priyanka Kanhare. Priyanka, you there? Okay, so that's the team here. So it's a large team, and I'll do a formal introduction in my slides. So today I'm going to talk about the School of Environmental Design and Architecture, and we're going to discuss about the programs and followed by question answer session. But before I start, I would like to invite Professor Nilay Yajnik as the provost of Navrachna University to share his ideas about what the university stands for. So you must understand, a school is a subset of a university. And it will be great since you're here to say a few words to these young kids about our university, sir.
Thank you, Professor Pratyush. On behalf of Navrachna University, my dear students, parents who are watching today, welcome to Navrachna University Open House for SEDA, the School of Environment, Design and Architecture. The idea of this open house is to help you to understand what our university offers, what the school offers, the kind of programs that we offer, and how you can develop yourself and how you can grow. The philosophy of the school is exactly the philosophy of the university, which is we allow you to do what you like to do. We allow you to experiment. We allow you to fail. We allow you to make mistakes. As long as you learn from those mistakes, we allow you to dream and convert those dreams into reality. And all these you can see happening in the architecture program, in the design program, the interior program, the landscape program. In all these programs, you see that kind of vibrancy and that kind of experimentation happening throughout. We not only give you exposure to the local scenario, that is the Gujarat scenario, but also the national scenario and even the international scenario. So you get a lot of exposure. For example, we have connections with the University of Bonn. We have connections with the Darmstadt University through Professor Pratyush. We also have a very deep level formal collaboration with the North Dakota State University. So all these areas, the US as well as Europe, is where you will get some kind of exposure to know what is happening internationally. We also are going to organize under Professor Pratyush's leadership an international conference on settlements, which will be very important, covering the entire Southeast Asia and Asia Pacific. This will be hosted at our university sometime in February next year. So the kind of exposure you get will be across various disciplines, and you can experiment the way you like. So the philosophy of the university of interdisciplinariness, of innovativeness, and doing everything with a social objective, with a contribution to make an impact to our country, to the region we live in. That's what our university is all about. That's what SEDA is all about. And SEDA, incidentally, is one of the best schools of Gujarat state today. And a very recent ranking, we were ranked 3rd in the whole of Gujarat. And we are on our way to get national level accolades as well. So welcome once again. And I invite you to this open house session with Professor Pratyush Shankar and the team of SEDA. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Professor Yajnik. I think very well said. In a very few words, you have covered the philosophy of the university and how SEDA is absolutely aligned with the whole idea of innovation and research. And thanks for highlighting the international collaborations that are really gaining momentum. Just the other day, all of us, myself, Professor Yachnik, and other colleagues were figuring out a new course that would be running in tandem with North Dakota State University. So thanks for that. Now I would like to invite Dr. Sandeep to say a few words from the perspective of from the Office of the Registrar.
Thank you, Professor Pratyush, and good morning to all the students who are joining here. So from the administration point of view, I need to, look at the university as a whole. And when you know the particular school, it will be very limited knowledge that you may have about the university. And hence, it is very prevalent to know about the university and how are we unique. Because there are plenty of options are available currently in the nation, and you may opt for the universities. But the university which you are part of right now in the open house, it is prevalent to know that how are we unique, what are the USPs that we have. So when you go out for a job, you need to have an experience later on. So we are the experienced people. We have a legacy of more than 50 years, of Navrachna Education Trust, who is a society with a purpose to serve the society. And the university is also established 10 years back, right, with a purpose to serve in the field of education. So we are a private university with a service-oriented approach towards the students, because, in today's era, you go to the universities, they are, divided into different departments, and there is a whole bunch of silos, where we are having an integrated approach, where all our schools are integrated with the administration, and students are considered as the topmost priority for all our faculties and staff. Then we have a disruption ready attitude. So you may have seen that disruption in terms of pandemic occurred 2020 March. At that time, most of the university were still figuring out that how to take the classes online, and we were one of the first people to take our classes online. And SEDA, of course, it is a specialized school in terms of architecture and design, where to teach in an online mode is extremely difficult, because it is all practice-based learning in architecture and design. And they have come up with a very innovative approach, and I am sure Professor Pratyush will talk about it in his presentation. So that's the attitude we have, and this is the attitude we build in our students as well. We have our curriculum with academic rigor, right? So in most of the universities, if you go, they have a curriculum, but there is no rigor. So as Professor Yagnik said that, we have an interdisciplinarity, we have connect with the industry and, academia. And we also have a connect with our NGOs, where students are getting a lot of practical exposure and not only the theory approach. We also have talented pool of faculty who are also a practitioner, because we firmly believe that only theorists or only practitioners may not be enough in particular school or university. And hence, if you see the team of SEDA or team of our other schools, they all are practitioners. They are doing consultancy, they are doing research, and along with that, they are bringing their experience from the industry to the classroom, which adds a value to it. Overall, we have a vibrant campus life along with the 360-degree development. As I said, we have extensive academia and industry collaboration. And apart from regular curricular activity, we have a lot of other extracurricular activities as well. So I am sure you will take full benefit of this open house, and you will interact and engage with the team SEDA to clear all your questions that you may have. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sandeep, for this quick summary about the administrative ideas as related to the university. So now, without wasting too much time, I think you have come here to understand more about the entrance exam, more about the programs that we have. I'll quickly start my presentations on SEDA, followed by presentations by Shalini and by Pragya. So this is the SEDA open house. today we are going to quickly look at, so don't get worried about the titles, it won't take too much time. I'll introduce the school, the philosophy of our teaching, the kind of student life we have. And then I have a very short introduction to architecture, followed by introduction of interiors and landscape that Shalini and Pragya will give. And last, we can discuss the admission process for 2021. Just so that we understand, as I think has been articulated very aptly by Professor Yachnik, that this is a university that's committed to innovation and research. And I think these are the two words you might like to keep in mind. Innovation is about being able to think afresh, think new, and research is about being able to think deep and ask questions and find answers to that. So that's the general university orientation, and the environment in the university allows that, so environment or spaces allow for that kind of a search. We have a very committed staff here, and I'm very proud of the team that we have here. I introduced all of you, and as Dr. Sandeep was also saying, a lot of us are practicing architects and designers, which means that many of us are theoreticians, but many of us build a lot. And that is why we have the confidence to teach. And teaching also enriches our practice. So it's a both way kind of a street. That's the full-time staff that we have. But we also get a lot of visiting faculty. Now, visiting faculty essentially that are brought for their specialized practice orientation. And they're very senior people, they're very well-accomplished people, and we pull them to come here and teach. Yeah, so there's a whole pool of industry. We call the word industry doesn't mean a factory. So industry means the general world outside. So we get some very exciting visiting faculties to come and teach you. Now, these are the three disciplines that we offer presently. We have ambitions of starting postgraduate programs, short-term postgraduate programs very soon. But presently we have these three undergraduate programs in architecture, design, which is interiors, and landscape. Now, architecture means building. If I were to put it in a very simple fashion, it is our ability or skill sets and an understanding to be able to design buildings. An architectural degree of it's a 5-year degree that gives you a good general background to do many things. You can do urban planning, you can do urban design, you can do specialize in landscape, you can even do an MBA if you want, you can do urban management, etc., etc. You can even specialize in furniture design. By design or interior design, we are talking about the space inside the building, if I put it in a very simple way. Ability to design the spaces inside. Yeah, that's what interior designers do. But again, interior designing is a very general degree. They also make furniture. They also get into graphic design. They might specialize in product design. So interior design is about designing interior spaces, but you can move into many different allied fields. Many people get into photography also. Landscape is about designing the space outside the building, which is a huge upcoming area. And the space can be small, like a courtyard. Sometimes they might be involved in making an ecological design for a whole district or a whole taluka. Yeah, so it can get into a very large scale design for open spaces, furniture design, lighting design. It is also a very general degree that allows you to get into environmental planning, environmental design. So these are the three undergraduate programs that we offer. If I were to summarize our school, our philosophy, and it's very important you understand our philosophy because it's all about ideas. Yeah, it's all about ideology. I would say innovation, societal concern, and critical thinking. By innovation, to be able to come up with new ideas. That's why we are here for. Societal concern means to worry or be concerned about the city, about the nation, about the community and society. We cannot just be thinking about ourselves. We have to think large and big. And that's what all good institutes, incidentally Professor Yachnik comes from BITS Pilani. So BITS Pilani has created corporate leaders and it has created thinkers who have changed society. So they're not only thinking about themselves, but they're changing the whole landscape of the society. And being critical means being objective, having a research orientation, and not being superficial. That's how I would look at these things. What is it to be a student in SEDA? Now, this is a question that is in everyone's mind. So I picked up this wonderful photograph from one of our studios that shows students that are working. We say we literally sell our souls to the profession. Yeah. And of course, this is pun intended. You don't have to sell anything because you won't even get a receipt, right? So we really get 100% involved. So a student who comes here is absolutely involved. In fact, they are so involved that the work doesn't look like work, it becomes fun. And that is the philosophy we have. The work is a lot of work, but the work becomes like as if you're playing a sport. That is how fun it can be. So a lot of model making, a lot of independent thinking, a lot of artistic kind of a thinking is needed. How our graduates are different? Well, our graduates are leaders and not followers. Sorry, there's some disturbance. I'll just just give me a moment. Let me just figure this thing out.
Maybe people can be muted.
Unfortunately, it is coming from my end. So there's a vendor there. Just a minute. This too shall pass, as they say it.
Absolutely.
It's a biblical quote. Yeah, can you post this? Thank you. We want to create leaders, and we want to create graduates who can adapt to changing times. See, the world is changing very fast. If we only create one kind of graduate, they'll be stuck in 5 years. So we want to create what we call as lifelong learners. We want them to have societal responsibility, and we want them to understand technology very well. We have some wonderful workshops here with some absolutely latest equipments. So we really want them to understand that as well. These are the kind of work our students do. Yeah, these are the kind of drawings our students do. And these are all second, third year drawings, fourth year drawings. So they do wonderful visualization, wonderful presentation. They imagine new things. They imagine new projects. That's what our graduates, not graduates, but our students keep doing. So these are the kind of things that if you were to join, these are the kind of things that we do. Sometimes we have to get innovative, like this model, which is a favorite of ours, where a student, since it was a lockdown and she wanted to make a forest, so she got broccolis from the fridge and she made a forest. So that's what innovation is all about. But we encourage this kind of imaginative ability in our student, very strong drawing ability, strong model making ability. It's also a lot of fun. Sometimes we use comics. Sometimes we use, poster making as a way to express ourselves. So there is a lot of artistic thing that happens. Apart from the curriculum, we have a lot of lectures that keep going on. We were just calculating, we had more than 21 guest lectures in the last 10 months, right? So we have different lecture series. So these are all very interesting practicing people who come to teach. Different kind of lecture series are organized. Like this one was titled Guruvari. This one was fresh out of the oven, which means fresh graduates were presenting their work. Guruvari was about really masters, established practices. In Tune with Nature was about practices that are very environmental conscious, right? So these were the different kind of series. Even I presented something. I got one of my colleagues from University of Bonn, Professor Yajnik, was talking about we have a kind of a collaborative program with the University of Bonn. We got Professor Yajnik's very good friend, Professor Mahalingam. We have a very deep collaboration with North Dakota State University, and we're planning a new course with them. In fact, just the last week we were meeting. We have different people, very eminent editor of a magazine, Geeta, Professor B.R. Shah, who is very well established structural engineer. He's part of a good friend. He's part of our advisory board and a very good friend. He presented, and he will teach you if you were to join here. He teaches extensively in the first, second, third years. And then we had a host of people coming in nationally and internationally, presenting their work, different ideas on conservation, on step well. So we have a lot of lectures that keep going on. Yep. So our ideas of education are not only limited to the curriculum, but it is also about the many things that goes all around it as what is known as co-curricular activity. Last year, we also hosted a international design challenge where we received more than 150 entries. And this was to design public places, keeping social distancing in mind. Now, this was much before people had actually realized how serious the pandemic is. And people were really saying, why are you getting into all this? Because this is going to get over. I remember, and this was already in March, we had floated this. And a lot of the design are very valid even today. You have seen how when people start meeting in public places, the COVID cases rise up. There is a very clear correlation there. So we were trying to look for design solution that solves the problem. Yeah. So these are the kind of things that goes on. We also have established a Center for Heritage Research. And our students and faculty members together work on Center for Heritage Research. And I'm sure Shalini and Pragya both will show some slides about some of the ongoing projects that they are involved in. So this is what we mean by co-curricular activities. So this is a student in landscape making this wonderful drawing for a project, What of Vadodara, that we recently launched. So these are many different things. Exchange program is something very important. International exposure is, to my mind, the rock bed of any university. You cannot be in a silo. You cannot be like an ostrich and not look at the world. We have to, as even Gandhiji would say, open the doors and let the best of all the global ideas come inside the house. And then we choose what we want to do. So very important to have international exchange. We have one with the North Dakota State University and very close collaboration with the Technical University of Darmstadt in Germany and University of Bonn in Germany. So these are three institutes we are actively pursuing. Just to give you a gist of an architecture program, it is a 5-year program. That means it has 10 semesters, in which 2 semesters are rather special. The 8th semester is internship, where you go out and work in an office. And the last semester is a thesis. Yeah? So that's how it is. First 2 semesters, we call them foundation because all the students of SEDA do this semester together. So even if you join landscape or you join interior or architecture, we'll be together as one big batch and you will do this together. All the courses are same. Then as the years go by, the complexity increases. We might start with form exploration and spatial organization, then context-based studio, complex organization, units and multiples. And we don't have to worry about these words right now. But as we go along, this really becomes more sophisticated. But what is very important for you to understand is the studio. Now, what is the meaning of a studio? Studio means that we learn how to design buildings. We learn how to make design. We learn how to make an idea doable. So that's the studio. That's the heart of our education. A lot of hands-on work is required in many courses. That is also something about architecture. A very good understanding of history and environment. Very critical in all programs practically, but more so in architecture. And towards the end, we encourage, independent thinking is there always, but you have to establish it by a thesis. Like in this case, this is on the right-hand side is a thesis guided by Shantanu of a portable bridge. On the left-hand side is a thesis that I guided where this girl was looking at the architecture of a fort. So that is how your 5 years kind of pan out. Now, I'll just give a gist of this and we can revisit it towards the end. For architecture, you have to appear in NATA and plus 12 score. So 50% of NATA score, 50% of 12 score. For design and landscape, on 5th of July, we have an entrance exam. If you have not filled the form, fill it as soon as possible. And we have a common entrance exam on 5th of July, followed by a counseling session on 6th of July. And these are the numbers. You can quickly take a screenshot. For any queries of architecture, landscape, contact Pragya. Any queries in design, contact Shalini. But you can ask them any question about any program. They're the two most senior most people we have here. They know all the programs in and out. So with that, I will end my particular presentation, and I would like to hand over the mic to Shalini. And Shalini is a very dear colleague of mine, and she is very popular amongst students of SEDA because of her warm nature, because of the manner in which she, and I've seen it myself, she really takes care of her students, holds their hand, in a very gentle fashion, and is presently the chair of the Bachelor of Design Interior program. But she looks after many, many different things at SEDA. So with that, and Shalini, I more or less kept my promise of 15 minutes. I took 17 minutes. I hand over the mic to Shalini. Shalini, if you could just begin.
Thank you so much, Pratyush. I'll start sharing my screen. Okay. Good morning, everyone. As Pratyush rightly described, it's an honor and a privilege to introduce you to our program today. You all know me, so I know I don't need to give an introduction, but I'll just kind of reiterate it. I'm Shalini Amin. I'm an architect and the program chair for the B Design Interior program. I want to introduce you to the kind of work we do at SEDA. So I'll be talking about more of what is the kind of work we do, what our students do in different subjects, in all the module-based subjects that we have. And also, I would like to give you an overview of the kind of journey that you would be taking up as an interior design student, if you happen to be our students. So with this, I begin with first, let us start understanding and let us introduce us as to who are we. The Bachelor's of Program in Interior Design at the School of Environmental Design and Architecture is a 4-year degree program. Since design is all about practical application, the B Design Interior courses is tailored to include learning by doing. So we believe in a lot of learning by doing, a lot of hands-on work. Students get a chance to experience making with varied materials. In turn, they get an opportunity to understand its application, its techniques, even the pitfalls of that particular material. So that is what I mean by saying that we believe in a lot of learning by doing. We go beyond books. We do not have anything which goes by the books. Our studios, which make the primary and the most important module of our program, follows the problem-based learning approach. A design problem is presented to the students to mirror the probable projects which they would be handling in the future. So we make them future friendly, future ready for the projects for them to be handled as professionals. They design spaces according to the theme based of the studios. We start with residential design to begin with and raise the bar as and when gradually how we go further. We raise the bar of complexity with each passing year, ending the final year with design or research thesis, as Pratyush also mentioned in the architecture program. It's the same method in which we follow in the interior program. Further, to hone our students to be able to execute design projects, we also strengthen the students towards critical thinking. Now, that is very important. It is important for us to equip the students to ask larger questions about design, about community, and our surroundings, while going ahead and leading once they are out in the real world and practicing. Now, what I'm going to do is I would like to take you through some of our students' work while explaining how the course progresses from one semester to the other. We start with the foundation year. More importantly, we call it as the first year. This year, according to me, is the most important year of all. I say this because there's a major shift in education for the students, and hence it becomes imperative that the students become comfortable to the courses of years to come. Therefore, we start with subjects where the main aim is to observe and just make. The foundation year also enables students to venture into experimentation, looking into multiple possible outcomes with a single start point. We also encourage students to start thinking outside the box. Now, that is also something which is very important and we kind of reiterate and keep reiterating in our program. The foundation year then culminates into the built form step by step, easing the students into grasping the built space. This is just an example of one particular subject, which is called basic design, which I take up at the foundation year level. And it's about an exercise which is called Let's Nail It. It was a very intuitive exercise. It got students to got them into the spirit of complete hands-on work immediately to begin with. In turn, what happened was they started understanding the material that they were handling, and they became aware what fun it is to handle a material which is out there in the open, and thereby also understand the terminologies of design while just having fun working on it. The foundation year also for students is to learn to observe their surroundings and sensitize themselves towards it. This is also one such exercise which we did, which was close to nature, because we had these exercises curated for them during the pandemic period. We didn't expect them to come to the campus. They were all in different parts of the city, in their homes. So we wanted to take up exercises and take up objects and subjects which are close to them and they could be able to deal with. In this exercise also, students were asked to observe the subject, which in this case was either a bird, a particular bird, or an insect, and to understand their habitat. It also urged and probed the students to notice minute details of that particular bird and insect, be it in the form of a scale or its proportion, its texture, and then of course its habitat. And gradually the exercise culminated into making abstract models. Now these terminologies at the moment might sound a little alien to you right now, but you can just take it with the flow that you see. Some few examples. The later part of the foundation year, then now we start with a dialogue about the spaces with the introduction of planes and axes. The fact that the design of the space requires a three-dimensional consideration. The exercise guides the students to transform their two-dimensional understanding towards a three-dimensional outlook. We come to the second year. Now, second year is where the students are exposed to their first design studio. Students are challenged to transmute interior spaces into spaces of comfort. While attaining the concluding goal of a design space, many small exercises are also introduced into the fold to make the progression of design interesting for students. Apart from helping them widen their imagination, these exercises attain small goals, leading them indirectly to the final design. They wouldn't even realize that they've reached the final design stage through these fun, well-curated exercises. So in the autumn semester, we started off with introducing students with a lot of movies and sitcoms. Yes, indeed, it was a lot of movies and sitcoms. Students were asked to study a character from the given movie and design a mobile residence for the characters they chose, incorporating the design brief and understanding the characteristics traits attained by watching these movies and sitcoms. Interesting, wasn't it? In the spring, the project was a little more, added a little bit of complexity, and it came on to revival of a public library, where students were asked to study the structure in its entirety, from the edifice to its details, both interior and exterior. The challenge here was to come up with a proposal that would revive the building and rebring it back into the public eye. Thereby, you extend the life of the building. Coming on to the third year generally exposes students to commercial interiors. The first half deals with retail interiors, and the second half deals with corporate interiors. For retail interiors, students are taught to design as per the theme of products and brands, keeping a close connection with it in terms of material palette, elements which are used in the interior, and the motto of the brand for what it is used for. For corporate interiors, students are introduced to actual corporate briefs, which familiarizes the students to the contemporary ideas of a workspace and the brief of the corporate structure. And finally, the final year, where the students undertake the subject and the topic of their interest, the thesis. They can be taking up research or design thesis. In research thesis, students answer relevant questions they come up across in the field of interior design, and in design thesis, the students form a design problem relevant to the current times and present it with a design proposal. The scale of the project can range from adaptive of a structure to prototyping, to furniture prototyping, product designing, etc. One such example of a particular thesis is, as you can see here, is the student wanted to venture into a multifunctional furniture, which he achieved with the prototyping, permutation, and combination of his initial design. He then, in the process, also worked upon the details of the furniture to understand its working and proposing practical solution with his work. In this particular thesis, a student wanted to inquire into the spatial planning of workspaces for creative professionals. Through qualitative interviews and ethnomethodological surveys, she researched spatial characteristics based on the concentration level required at varying stages of the creative process. Last but not the least, but very important and very close to our heart in our program, are our hands-on module-based workshops, which we very well curate throughout each semester. We invite experts from the industry who interact with the students and conduct these workshops. Every module of the workshop introduces a new material, allowing the students to get closely acquainted with it. There are two kinds of workshops that we undertake in the interior design program. One is the craft workshop and the other is the furniture workshop. The craft workshop looks at soft materials. The furniture workshop explores harder building materials, culminating into furniture and functional products. Giving you just an overview of the slide that you've been seeing is there are these field experts in their own fields, who have been invited to come to the campus and conduct workshops. We had Mala Sinha. I would not get into a lot of details, but she came to the campus. She's the owner of Bodhi, a textile house, which is based in Baroda. She came over to conduct a wonderful and a very extensive workshop on color and fabric. We had Dhruvkant Amin, founder of Tectona Grandis Furniture, a furniture company which is based in Ahmedabad. He came to conduct a workshop with the students of interior design, and we have these wonderful, he got them to understand the relationship between wood and metal, and we have these wonderful pieces of furniture which are site-specific and context-specific on our campus, which is adding beauty to our campus at the moment. We have Manish Maheshwari. He was the founder of Site Art Space. He got students to understand importance of metal and the properties of metal through some very, very extremely well curated exercises. So he conducted a beautiful exercises. He came up with metal origami furniture, sound resonating installations, all that of which is still there on the campus for you to see. And we have Vishnu Koleri, who's also a member of the Clay Club, and he conducted recently a clay workshop and a furniture workshop from using upcycled materials. As I said, over a period of time and over a number of years, we have conducted a lot of workshops, physical workshops on the campus. But this presentation is limited to only showing you workshops which we have conducted during the lockdown. That is only the autumn semester as well as the spring semester. So I'll be only showing you those works which we have been conducting on an online mode. The rest, you can visit our website. We have the link where you can see the works of the previous workshops which have been conducted. So as I was saying, due to the current pandemic situation this whole year, the workshops were very well curated in such a way that the materials and the tools which we used were well within the students' reach. The particular workshops which called for furniture to be designed from very unconventional materials. You could see how a plastic basket, which is used conventionally to store vegetables and utensils in a kitchen, is designed to its new form for a seating as a twin chair. Few more examples of upcycled furniture, how students creatively designed and made wonderful pieces of furniture, functional furniture, I would say, using materials from waste. And they did this from their own homes during the lockdown. The craft workshop explored the materials culminating into a product or an exploration again, fortifying the students' bond with materials. So as you can see, a few examples of the craft workshop. Apart from this, we also do research which the students can assist to further their exposure. It's something that Pratyush just talked about. One such research project that I undertake is the narrow gauge railways of Vadodara under the Navrachna Heritage Center. It looks at the narrow gauge railways and its systems that was started by the Gaikwads in the early 1800s, showing you few images of the first phase documentation of the carriages done by the students. Just a glimpse of the work of the students right now. These are the carriages. There's a Victorian carriage and a DRMO carriage. When we talk about the paths that can be chosen by graduates after passing out from the B Design interior program, they are extremely varied. A straightforward choice for the students can be to work in firms which are executing interior and architectural projects. Secondly, with the education that a B Design student undergoes, they can carve a niche as furniture designers as well. For students wanting to pursue further studies, there are various opportunities that open up after an undergraduate course in interior design. Under the vast umbrella of postgraduate courses in design, students can choose a master's in interior design, in furniture design, product design, industrial design, graphic design, animation, to name a few. When you look at the purview of management, graduates become eligible for master's courses such as design management as well. Apart from these, a graduate in interior design can also pursue research in construction techniques pertaining to interiors and materials. Last, but absolutely not the least, a graduating B Design interior student becomes a confident and a qualified practicing interior designer as well, soon after graduating from the undergraduate program. Coming on to the last slide, to know more about the program and about us and the kind of work we do, we have formed an Instagram page, which is seda.bdesign.interior. Do follow us if you want to know more about us. Thank you for your time. Have a good day.
Thank you. Thank you, Shalini, for this wonderful presentation, and really appreciate you introducing the Instagram page to end everything. And I think it's wonderful because I think I'm very glad you took them year by year and really showed them that if they decide to pursue a career in design, what is the kind of stuff that they would do. And also, I think, do remember that this is a good base degree for you to venture into many different things. You know, that's what I always believe, that undergraduate degree should allow you to find yourself. You could specialize more if you want. And I think, thanks for this, Shalini. It was really a wonderful presentation. Now I'll invite another colleague of mine. I'll invite Professor Pragya Shankar to make her presentation on the Bachelor of Design Landscape program. Now, just to introduce Pragya, so Pragya is your hardcore classic academician. She is a quiet academician in that sense. She researches, she writes, she also has a practice in landscape, and she teaches in architecture also. And she's also responsible for the program of Bachelor of Design into bracket landscape. So today she's here to present or introduce you to the program of landscape. So over to you, Pragya.
Thank you, Pratish. So good morning, everyone. I think it's my pleasure to introduce this program to you. I'm Pragya Shankar, as Pratish just introduced me. I've been with Navrachna since last 9 years now. And as Pratish informed, that I teach both in architecture, and it was in 2017 that I established Bachelor of Landscape program here. I'll just take you to the presentation. So Bachelor of Design in Landscape is a course, as I informed, it was established 4 years back, and it is just recently that our first graduated. Now, landscape may seem a very new field, but in fact, it's a very established field internationally, and there's a lot of increasing demand of this field in India. Landscape is great for those students who are passionate about design as well as nature and environment. It deals with elements of nature to design spaces. So essentially, landscape designers design spaces which are outdoors, and that includes spaces like these parks and plazas in the city, uh, roads, movement zones. Like this is a High Line of New York, a very, very famous project done by a landscape architect. Open spaces in the city and the structures related to that, and also residences. So design of these residential landscape. Uh, you would be familiar with this building. This is Apple Office, and if you see, it houses a large open space in the center designed by landscape architect. So these landscape architect design variety of spaces with variety of ranges, but along with that, landscape architects also design objects related to outdoors. These objects like seating, furniture, play equipments, landscape lighting. So if you see, there's a huge range that landscape designers deal with. They're also increasingly becoming part of these teams with architects and planners to deal with large scale projects with very strong environmental issues. So these landscape architects also deal with large scale projects. It's a huge range we are talking about, something like a small object to something which is as large as a riverfront or a lakefront. Now, how do we understand need of landscape in the country? If I just say that there are a lot of projects available, perhaps may not be enough, but let me just tell you what landscape architects can do, and then you can begin to notice the changes which are happening around you in the city to help you understand this is where landscape architects are part of. So landscape architects can do projects like these for the rejuvenation of lake systems and river systems when they are damaged by urban development. They can really improve quality of life. The road designing and path designing, they can convert something as boring as the one on the left to something which is as engaging on the right side. They can also bridge this gap that we feel in our cities, the gap that we feel that we are not connected with nature. And that's what landscape architecture can do as well. It can also soften the urban development, like these terrace gardens or urban farming, which is happening over the buildings. Landscape architects have a huge role to play here. They are trained to do things like these. Now, this project that you see here is not somewhere else, it's in India. So this is a housing society landscape, right, done by our member of academic board, Aniket Bhagwat. This project is in Bombay, but such projects are happening all over India these days. I think you must be familiar with Sabarmati Riverfront Development Project. That's also that also the area which landscape architects work in. And the best is that our first batch, that graduated few weeks back, has got 100% placement, and that is a proof how much these graduates are in demand these days. So there is a huge demand in practice for these graduates. Landscape program in Navrashna is a 4 years degree program in Bachelor of Design. This program has a variety of subjects. As Pratish and Sharani also explained, we have design, science and technology, humanities, and we also have hands-on workshops. And students have a choice to design their degrees. So design remains constant, but they can decide based on their interest whether they want to take more hands-on workshop or they want to have a larger element of humanities. So they can design their own degrees depending on what their interest area is, and that can also help them decide after graduating what is the kind of work they want to do in future. So landscape architects after graduating, or landscape designers after graduating, can take up, do masters in landscape design, but they can also do masters in environmental planning and furniture design, object design, and they can also establish their own practice. And this is where they can slowly start building their personality by making their own degree program. So design is a studio is a place where students really are given real life problems, and then they test it in form of design. So that is the most important part. And if you see here, these are the kind of this is the kind of work done in second year. So students try and understand each problem by drawing, by making, before they come up with these kind of outcomes. As the years increase, the complexity increases in the kind of problems that they are dealing with. And the engagement with profession is extremely important for us. So there are juries like this when they get the feedback from other people working in the profession for the work that they do in studios. We also have science and technology. In this case, we have sciences and technology that deals with landscape, but students are also exposed to the idea of construction because landscape designers deal with both. We also have humanities, subjects like history and theory, but along with writing, this is also pretty hands-on so that students are able to understand at an undergraduate level the nuances of these designs. We also have hands-on workshop. So this workshop which Pratish introduced is used by all the students, including landscape students, to learn and understand materials because they are finally going to build. We also have, along with these workshops for landscape architects, we also have some outdoor workshops they also deal with. So we also take them outdoors, help them understand nature in a better way. And that is in addition to the in-house workshops that we have. Landscape designers also need to travel a lot. And in fact, I mean, and they travel for a variety of reasons, something related to their studio, but otherwise to see landscapes in general and experience landscapes of the country and abroad, and also look at works of designers. We take students to various different places. So these students are in, right now, they are in Himachal and Sri Lanka, and also traveling around Baroda and Jambugoda. So there are a lot of places these students visit. And a lot of teaching actually happens outdoor. So when the university also allows for students to gather together, to have conversations, to have discussions. And we also offer formal interaction with the professionals working with the field through these lectures. We also are able to, I mean, our students are also engaged in real professional problems. Like these third year students, this year, they worked with an architecture team from Ahmedabad, and they worked on a real life project. Similarly, the in-house projects that we have under Heritage Cell is also giving the students an opportunity to understand and experience what happens out in profession. In this case, this project, which was to understand National Heritage of Baroda, led to making of the site Vada Vadodara, which was recently launched. And those students that you saw in the pictures were actually participants in putting this all together. Our strength is the faculty members that we have. So right now, almost all faculty members of SEDA teach landscape students at some point of time. But along with these are the other professionals from outside who come and teach students. So Deepa Maheshwari, who was the head of landscape, Masters of Landscape program at SEP University, is a visiting faculty here. Bobby Sujan, Milind, they are both practicing architects, and Karanveer Khatke also. They are both, all of these are practicing landscape designers who teach here. Alpa Sridhar, who's a geologist. Karan, who teaches botany. And then we have Ramesh Lakhani, who teaches horticulture. Saloni, who's an expert in soils. And our academic board also include Aniket Bhagwat, who has the leading landscape practice in India. So we have a very good set of faculty members who teaches in our program. And that's our very, very big strength. So with this, I would just like to end this introduction. Thanks for coming here today and listen to this presentation. Pratish, I would just like to hand over the mic to you now. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Pragya. Thanks for this wonderful presentation. I think just to summarize what Pragya just said, so one is a couple of things. One is that landscape is an upcoming field. So that's something very important to understand. One of the evidences of the fact that there is a demand for landscape architect is that our first graduating batch was absorbed within 1 week of graduation. In fact, practically half of them had a job offer or an offer to work even while they were doing their thesis. Yeah, so that is something very, very important to understand. Second thing is, this is a field which is again a very generic field. We don't see it as a specialized field. After doing landscape from here, you can choose to work in an architect's office. You can choose to work in a landscape office. You can choose to maybe begin to start on your own, or you can choose to specialize in environment side, specialize in ecology side. You can specialize. I know of a student who was talking to me. After 2 years, she wants to do urban and regional planning, regional planning and all those kind of things. Or you can, since it's a generic Bachelor of Design degree, you could even do furniture design or graphic design. So it allows you to move in variety of field if you choose to specialize. So this is what we have. We have had a short presentation on architecture, which is understood well. We had a presentation on Bachelor of Design Interiors, and we had a presentation of Bachelor of Design Landscape. As we said, the entrance is coming soon. It is the next Monday, which is 5th of July. Now, what we would like to do is, if there are any questions, we'll be very glad to answer those questions. If you feel that maybe it was too overwhelming to see so much and come up with questions, perhaps you can call up Pragya and call up Shalini to understand better. And I said, with both of them, you can discuss any of the program. Now, that is the best part that we have. Shalini knows as much about architecture, design, and landscape as much as Pragya, and vice versa. So feel free to just pick up the phone and call them up. If you want to ask something pressing right now, I can answer, or Shalini or Pragya can help me with that. So do you have something in your mind, or you want to take your time? Please feel free to ask the question. Okay, so there is no response. I hope you were listening to all this and we were not talking to ourselves. That's all I can say. Yeah.
I hope they can unmute themselves on their own.
Sonali, can they? Okay, so we have a question from Hem Shah. Now Hem Shah is asking, good morning, sir, whether this year 50% of board and NATA would be considered. So that is only for architecture. For architecture, it is 50% of your 12th marks and 50% NATA. That guidelines remain the same as far as Council of Architecture is concerned. So this is only for architecture. For design and for landscape, Hem, you're there, right? You can switch on your camera. For that, there is, it is only based on entrance exam, correct?
Okay.
Hem
Okay,
says
sir.
thanks also. Thank you. Any other question?
I would just like to
Sarah,
add one thing
Vaishnavi,
here.
Priya. Yes, Pragya, please.
Yeah. So far, there is no notification from ACPC or COA if they are changing the rules. So right now, the rules stay as they are for the 12th and NATA.
Correct.
And if there is any change in future, we will put it in on our website for your reference.
Pratyush, can I add something for the entrance exam?
Please, please.
Yeah. Okay. Students who are here in the meeting will also be sending you a detailed mail regarding the format of the online entrance exam. So the format would be what is the size of the paper on which there's going to be a drawing based examination, and the other is going to be a composition and visualization based examination. So there are going to be two components to the online entrance test, 1 hour each for the two exams, and the details and the list of what that needs to be kept ready with you will be mailed to you in a couple of days. So you'll receive it well in advance before the 5th, in order to make all the arrangements so that you're ready for the exam.
So these are the phone numbers to keep in mind. You can note down these numbers. They're also there in the mails that could have been sent to you. Are there any more questions? Okay, so I think Shalini and Pragya, I think we can end the session. So, okay, there's one more question. Those who have joined today are all from we can talk about hostels. Sandeep, do you want to ask that?
Yeah, I think is there any
Sandeep
student who
was
has
saying
joined
something.
from outside Baroda right now? Those who have joined, is anybody from outside Baroda? And if they have any questions regarding the student housing, so we can answer that as well. Okay, it seems they are from Baroda.
Great. So thank you all for joining in, and wish you all the best for your academic career. You are at a cusp presently at this stage of your life. There are always many things that you see in the horizon, many opportunities, but also many confusion and many questions. So feel free to ask us as much as you want. You are free to eat our brains. Free to visit the campus, because the campus is now open if you happen to be in Baroda, or even if you're in some other city. Thanks for joining in, and wish you all the best for your future. Yeah. Thanks, everyone.